2018 Illinois Elementary School Association Medium Division Cheerleading State Championship in Peoria, Illinois on January 20th. And whereas, in addition to the Old Quarry Cheerleading Squad's first state title, the program has posted 3 consecutive state runner-up finishes in 2015, 16, and 17, and twice before that brought home runner-up finishes. And whereas Old Quarry's 3 consecutive state runner-up finishes are the most for any IESA medium division cheer team, and whereas Old Quarry Middle School competition cheerleaders have been named SDEAA conference champions for 5 consecutive years, and whereas it must be recognized that competition at the state level requires dedication, determination, passion, and persistence by each squad member individually as well as a team, as well as the complete commitment of the cheerleaders, their parents, and of course their coaches, Lori Solis, Daryl Mercer, and Claudia DeSanti. And whereas it is fitting and proper that we recognize the 8th grade Warrior cheerleaders, Haley Davis, Eileen Flynn, Daly Johnson Pollock, Gracie Melanie, Mackenzie Maple, Kia Murda, Kinley Sudavi, Tess Sublett, and Skylar Yabush, our 7th graders, Lily Kozlowski, Annette Likaz, Brienne Mooney, Abby Nagel, Danielle Scumaci, Bella Shaden, Kaylee Thornton, and Jade Yabush, and our 6th graders, Fawn Ford and Molly Tucker. I didn't butcher the names too bad, so forgive me if I did. But now, therefore, to make this official, I, John Nagowski, Mayor Lamont, on behalf of the entire village board and trustees and the entire community, hereby commend the Indian Varsity Cheerleading Squad on an outstanding performance and hereby express our pride and our sincere congratulations to the coaches and to the dedicated and talented 2018 squad. Congratulations. Do some without me. I'll make this picture much better now. You guys do it.
I'm sorry. You're taking me down.
All right, again, everyone give them a hand. All right,
Thank you. Thank you.
go home, do some homework. See you guys. Thanks for coming out, everyone. See ya.
We didn't vote on the proclamation.
You can actually just do this. And then she's going to turn it over to Carl.
Okay.
Just turn it over.
Okay. All right, to make it official, I guess we need a motion
Yes.
for the aforementioned proclamation. So, all right, we have a motion by Trustee Maher, seconded by Trustee Blatzer. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next up on the agenda, we're going to introduce Carla Frey. Free? Okay. Carla is the manager of Smart Meter Division at ComEd. She's joining us tonight to give us a presentation, a short one, and an answer any questions the board may have on the ongoing smart meter installation program for ComEd. George, you want to comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And actually, I'll turn it over first to Lisa Parati. She's our external affair representative with Commonwealth Edison. She's our dedicated representative, so anytime we have an issue with ComEd or we need to collaborate on a solution, we contact Lisa. She's been great. The ComEd has been rolling out their smart meter program through Chicagoland for the last several years, and Lamont's finally getting their smart meters, and I could tell they've done a good job already. 95% is in already, and I have not received many calls, so that's good news. But Lisa, if you want to just kick it off, I think it'd be a good time to kind of get an update on the program and let us know a little bit more about the smart meter.
Sure, absolutely. I'll be brief. So good evening, Mayor and trustees. Again, I'm Lisa Aprati, External Affairs Manager for ComEd and also the liaison to the village. I really appreciate the great relationship that we have with Lamont. George has been wonderful to work with, as well as the mayor. We have, as ComEd, been aggressively working to improve our system and making enhancements throughout the Lamont area. Through the Energy Infrastructure Modernization Act that was passed at the end of 2011, ComEd has modernized the smart grid, which includes the installation of smart meters, which you are going to hear in just a moment. Also joining me tonight, which I'd like to introduce, is Jim Conway. He is our Vice President of Customer Field Operations and AMI Deployment. And then, without further ado, I will introduce Carla Free, who is the Manager of ComEd's Smart Meter Operations, and she will be doing the presentation tonight and informing you in detail about the smart meters in Lamont. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
So thank you, Lisa. Good evening, Mayor and Board of Trustees. Thank you for having me here this evening to talk about ComEd's smart meters. So as we've heard already, ComEd started installing our smart meters in 2013, and by the end of this year, we're scheduled to have touched all 4.2 million of our meters. We currently have 4 million smart meters already out of the 4.2 million. And for Lamont, we have about 8,300 meters in the city of Lamont, and all but 472 of those meters are already smart meters. They were installed earlier this year. The remaining 472 are scheduled to be installed in June and July of this year. So I wanted to go over today a little bit about what a smart meter is, some of the benefits for the customers, and then some common questions we have. So first, I brought some examples of the meters. So historically, the meters are really an analog meter that has a dial that spins, and we have to send a meter reader out every month to go read it. The smart meter is really a computer with two radios, actually, that send the data right back. It's got a digital display. It's UL listed, which we're actually the first utility in the U.S. that required our smart meters be UL listed. The other thing is, so how do the radios work? So they've got two radios in them. So the first radio sends data back to ComEd. We read our meters, our usage, 4 times every 4 hours or 6 times a day, and we bring back 30-minute interval data. The meters themselves talk on average less than 5 minutes a day. So there is a myth out there, the smart meters are talking constantly. That is not true. They talk less than 5 minutes a day for both sending our usage data and just checking network connectivity. So a lot of the times we go through the installation process. Since we're primarily installed here, I'm not going to go through that unless maybe at the end if you have questions on the installation process and what we do as part of the installs. So the smart meters have multiple benefits to our customers, and the first one is a program called Peak Time Savings. So electricity prices are really based on the top 4 or 5 hottest days in the year or the highest usage days in the year. To the extent that we can reduce our usage on those days, all our customers save. So what the Peak Time Savings Program is that we incentivize customers to reduce their usage on some of those hottest days. So if you sign up for the program, you get $1 per kilowatt hour saved. What happens is we will alert you that it's a peak time savings day. We typically have around 4 a year. If you reduce your usage compared to what you had used on similar days, you will get a credit. So if you don't, there's no penalty. So there's no negative side to signing up. You may not get a credit, but you're not penalized if you use more than you have in the past on those similar days. Typically, customers save about $2 to $3 per event. Like I said, we have 4 events on average a year. So since we started the program in 2015, We've given $2.4 million back to our customers, and last year alone, $1.2 million. We have about 274,000 customers signed up out of our 4.2 million, or really our 4 million that are smart meters, and Lamont has 132 customers right now signed up for the program. So as I said, we collect the usage data on 30-minute increments from the meters. We post this data so customers can actually go on the web and view their individual usage and make smart energy choices. So they can look to see what they're using. In addition, you can sign up for different alerts. So you can sign up for high usage alerts. You can sign up for alerts to show you if you're using more energy than you did for last month for the same time period. And then you can also sign up to get weekly emails summarizing your usage if you're interested. Another main benefit is outage detection. So the meters send what we call a last gasp. So they'll notify ComEd if a customer loses power. We still ask that residents call in and notify us if they lose power, because hearing from you is really the best source of information, but the majority of the time with the smart meters, we'll know you're out of power before you call. The other thing we do during outages is we have the ability to do what we call ping the meter, which is basically we send something in the meter, say, please tell me if you're on or off. We primarily use this functionality during storms when we're going through outage restoration. But this functionality alone has avoided 39,000 truck rolls last year. So that means that we're sending our trucks, our crews, out to locations that really don't have power, instead of sending them to a location where we think you may not have power, but you are restored. The other thing we have is we have an app. And also, you can do this on the ComEd website, but what's neat about the app is that you can actually, if you go to report an outage, it actually pings your meter. So what happens is you go online, you go to report your outage, it's going to reach out to the meter and say, do you show that you have power or not? What happens then is it'll come back and tell the customer that, yes, we see you don't have power, and the outage is created and we're dispatched. Or in some cases it says, you know, we show that you have power. Check your breakers, make sure that it's not an issue on your side. If you still want, you can proceed and create a ticket. But with that functionality, we've avoided approximately 75,000 truck rolls last year, which again just makes sure that we're sending crews to the right places and results in cost savings that are then passed on to all our customers by not having to send crews out to those locations when they have power. So as I said, ComEd has deployed about 4 million meters, but there are some people who have concerns about the smart meter. And that's okay. So what happens is if a customer calls in, we will ask why, but we actually have a dedicated customer experience team that is there just to answer customers' questions on the smart meters and help address their concerns. Once we talk to them, we have about 60% of those customers change their mind and accept the meter. So there's really 4 main reasons that we hear from customers of concern that I thought I'd just address tonight and answer some of the questions we typically hear. So one is about data privacy. So as I said, we do collect the customer usage information once every 30 minutes. And some people are concerned that we're going to sell this information and pass it out. We won't. So that's probably the easiest one to answer, is that we won't. The only way that we would provide your information is 1, a customer explicitly asks us to. 2, it's required by law. Or 3, it's anonymous, which means that we have groups of more than 15 meters, and it's for people to look at developing new programs related to smart meters or energy efficiency. Another common concern we hear is around data security. So the smart meters are wireless devices, total on time of 5 minutes a day, and some people are concerned that the meters can be hacked. So with the age we're in now, I'm not going to say anything's hack-proof, but we do employ the latest cryptographic technologies, and we selected our network provider based on the strength of their security requirements. We're able to update all our security firmware over the air, so remotely, and in addition, we hire firms to actually try and hack into the system, and if there are any issues, we address those right away. So the other thing to note is that if anyone were to hack into the meter, there's no customer data on the meter. All it has is its basically serial number and the usage. All the customer information, name, address, is all married up in a back office system, so the meter does not hold any of that data. Another common concern we hear from customers is around health. So these are wireless devices. They operate at the same frequency as your garage door opener, a baby monitor, or in many cases, your cordless phone. So the total on time is about 5 minutes a day, and in most cases, it's less than 1 minute. The radio frequency is similar to the Wi-Fi that is everywhere and most likely in this building as well. But nevertheless, some people have concerns that the radio transmission can cause health issues. There have been hundreds of peer-reviewed studies that have been done, and none have found any linkage between radio transmission at these exposure levels and a negative effect on human health. And in fact, typically our smart meters operate at only 5% or less of the FCC maximal permissible limits, and exposure from a cell phone is actually hundreds of times greater than a smart meter. The next reason we hear from customers with concerns on the meter is really other. So some people just simply want to refuse but don't offer ComEd a reason, and they don't have to give us a reason. We will try to ask if there's a reason so that we can help educate them or address their concerns, but again, they are not required to provide us a reason. ComEd has a very low refusal rate. So out of 4 million meters installed, we have about 4,800 customers who have said no thank you to the meter, which is a refusal rate of about 0.12%. If a person does defer the installation of the smart meter, there is a $21.53 per month fee added to their bill. So what's this for? So as I said, the smart meters reduce ComEd's costs, and these cost savings are passed on to our customers every year in our annual rate case. So a lot of the savings come from a reduction in the number of meter readers that have to come out and read the meters. So because someone refuses the meter, then we have to send someone out to read their meter, the bills. So the notion is, should you pay if I'm refusing the meter? So the thinking is that the cost bearer needs to bear the cost. So if I refuse the meter, I pay that additional cost for my meter to be read. So I mentioned as part of the project, we do have a designated customer experience line the customers can call if they have questions on the smart meter. We also have several documents that we have posted on our website, so on ComEd.com. Right on the home page, there's a smart meter link you can go to. We have videos, frequently asked question documents, fact sheets. I've got a couple fact sheets and actually pamphlets that I have on peak time savings that I can share with you guys as well. So if there's any questions, I'm more than willing to answer any questions.
I think we're good. Carla, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And Lisa, thank you for coming out.
Well, thank you for having us, and congratulations to your cheerleaders.
That's right. Thank you. All right. Next up, under the mayor's report, we have 2 reappointments to the police pension board, Barb Bushman and Brian Condrat. I need a motion to approve these 2 appointments.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee McClafferty, seconded by trustee Stapleton. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Whatever. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay, all right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thanks, Rick. Motion passed. Next up, we have 2 appointments to the Art and Culture Commission, Adam Zermalozinski and Rosa Sula. I need a motion to approve these 2 appointments.
So move.
Okay, motion by trustee Stapleton, seconded by trustee Maher. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. All right, we're moving along here. Okay. Next up, we have a public hearing on the Willow Point Annexation Agreement Amendment. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee Blatzer, seconded by trustee Kwasniewski. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, the public hearing is open. I know we have quite a bit of a crowd here tonight, so to kick things off, Jason, do you want to start?
Thank you. Does everybody hear me? Thanks.
Gotcha.
So the purpose of this public hearing is to accept comment on the proposed amendment to the Paradise Park 2008 annexation agreement. That agreement was included a zoning to R5 for a senior development the history on this property, there was a first amendment in 2016 for 27 single-family homes known as Fox Meadows. So this is the second amendment to the agreement. The Fox Meadows amendment rezoned the property to R4 single-family. This proposed amendment would rezone the property back to R5 attached housing for the purposes of building duplexes. It's important to note that Beechin and Dill did submit a revised preliminary plat of PUD, which we've sent to the board, and have reduced the density by 1 unit, or 1 building and 2 units. So the proposal is now for 40 duplex homes, 20 buildings. The project remains consistent with Lamont's comprehensive plan. It was the area designated as conventional neighborhood. The densities in that district are described as 2 to 4 dwelling units per acre. With the reduction, the proposed Willow Point is now at 3.3 dwelling units per acre. Following the planning and zoning public hearing, Beechin and Dill was asked to look at traffic generation. They had submitted a table, but they completed a more formal study. We summarized that for you. They looked at both low-rise residential condo, townhome, and senior adult housing as models, as this is an age-targeted development. And we found that the average sum of those uses are about equal to the proposed single-family health development that was approved in 2016. The Lamont Fire Protection District also looked at the plan and reported that they do not see any issues with emergency response time due to this development. At the committee of the whole meeting, the developer's engineer confirmed that they will be accepting stormwater runoff from neighboring properties. We know this is important that they continue to do so. The village engineer did review the proposed project and stated that the drainage calculations were acceptable. He also added in his comment letter, which would be a condition of approval, that stormwater overflow routes from off-site detention to the east of Willow Point must be maintained. In terms of the wetland that is there, there's a under 1 acre wetland in the northwest corner of the site that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers have established jurisdiction over. The developer will have to work with the Corps to mitigate this wetland. In response, they've submitted to the village's native landscaping guidelines for their detention area. This will actually replace the low-quality wetland that was the Army Corps' designation with higher quality species that were developed with the village arborist. Lastly, landscape and buffering is a significant concern. Following the public hearing with the Planning and Zoning Commission, Beechin and Dill presented an improved landscape plan. It included 15-foot landscape easements on all of the boundaries. These landscape easements will be planted with trees and shrubs and the like, and they will be maintained by the homeowners association. Staff is recommending approval of the annexation agreement.
Okay, great, Jason. Does anyone on the board have any questions for Jason? Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, can you tell me about the landscape? Is it increased from the previous meeting?
Yeah, initially they only had landscaping on, I think, 2 of the sides, and it wasn't in an easement. So they added it in the easement, which was a good improvement. I believe it's all canopy trees, evergreens, and shrubs on the east and south properties, the ones facing unincorporated residents. And then in addition to that, there's the parkway trees and the landscaping in the open space.
So they are not building a berm to put them on, they're just...
No, there's no berm because they have to accept the stormwater.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Rick.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I've got 2 questions. Item number 2 in the Second Amendment talks about 21 lots suitable for construction of 2-home duplex buildings. Does that need to be revised, or?
Yeah, we've already revised that. Thank you. Yes, that should read 20.
Okay. And then also item number 8, am I correct in understanding that all other contents of the original agreement remain in effect, so that only the additions to this amendment go into the original agreement?
That's true, yes, that's correct. And that's important to note as well. Many residents have expressed concern about traffic, and the original agreement does require the developer to contribute $20,000 to a potential light at Parker and 131st, so that stays their obligation.
Okay, so that was the obligation, in the original agreement.
Correct, yes, and it remains the obligation in this one.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Rick asked the question I was going to ask. The one thing I wanted to point out is there's no lot line between lot 1 and 2 on the drawing that was given out to us. But Rick, yeah,
Okay,
just to point
correct
out
that.
there's no lot line.
Question. So, how soon would the light go in then? If, I know it's,
To be developed? Well, this is the preliminary PUD, so they would return to the board for final PUD, and but I think fairly quickly, I know they have a due diligence period and the like, and would need to close on the property.
Yeah, I think you're referring to the traffic
Traffic light.
signal.
Oh,
Yeah,
not the home,
no, the
sorry.
signal has to be, has to warrant it based on either traffic accidents or traffic counts, and so the village would have to apply through county. 131st is a county road, Parker Road is jurisdiction of the village of Lamont, so it would have to meet the demand. I think the point of the agreement too is that when and if and when it meets the demand for a traffic signal, then the contribution would be required. But we will move forward. Ralph, we were talking about earlier today about ensuring that those counts have already been met. The way it works is that the counts have to reach a certain level before you can apply for a permit or a traffic signal. So you kind of have to build it and then eventually ask for the county for the traffic signal. But we will monitor the traffic counts and submit when needed.
the expectation is it will meet.
Not at this time, but when Kettering builds out and this subdivision builds out, if approved, then we think it will need it. But at this point, it's not warranted. But we'll check to confirm.
That's my point, though. Is it when you do expect it when both are built out, it would meet it?
Correct, and you have to show actual counts. Yep.
I mean, I understand that. I just wanted to make sure, because otherwise what's the point of having a contribution if it won't meet it? But
Question. About putting a stop sign there, would you have to meet the same kind of count just to get a stop sign? Or is it,
Stop sign on 131st?
yeah,
Before we stop?
rather than the light?
same thing.
Yeah.
Same
And
number?
it's a county road as well.
Okay.
The county road.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Before we continue on, I know several residents have reached out to myself as well as the other board members. I'd like to address some of that. I took some notes here and just like to share that with you. Obviously, we all recognize any type of new development can be an emotional issue, and we take into account everyone's input, and we appreciate everyone's input, both from existing landowners as well as the undeveloped landowner as well. And just want to make sure everyone knows, as a board, we want every development to serve two purposes: to be of high quality and add value to the community, as well as be a positive impact and meet the overall needs of the town taken as a whole. Both residential and non-residential development is a necessity, especially in the state of Illinois, where overall population is actually decreasing. We are one of a handful of states where the actual population is going down. Only new growth will help backfill the deficit gap created by the state on all local budgets. Just recently, the state cut our local sales tax by 2% and our income tax share by 10%. Here in Lamont, we are very fortunate that as a community, we are a very safe community with relatively minimal crime. We have lower property tax values relative to our neighbors, and our school system has been recognized as one of the best in the state, if not the nation. So we're fortunate there. Lamont is also fortunate in that we have the ability, because of this, to attract and grow. Therefore, we want to embrace it. Otherwise, we will just be another aging community with aging infrastructure, with decreasing resources, and that will require significant cuts to existing service. I think we've spoke quite a bit over the last month or so that with the situation our state is in, they're putting the pressure on the municipalities. It has caused a shortfall budget deficit with us individually, Lamont, of over $1 million, which we have filled. We've been able to overcome that with reductions and potentially reductions in service, which could potentially reduce staff headcount as well. So therefore, we keep talking about economic development. This just isn't, my idea. This is the only thing that is going to consistently get Lamont moving forward, because if we are not growing, we are cutting. And that's what, unfortunately, some of these other towns, the majority of towns across Illinois that do not have the ability to grow, that is what they're going to have to do. We've talked about health care costs. We've talked about pension costs. These are hitting every, not just the state, but every individual community as well. So again, economic development is not just a Lamont thing. It's something that Illinois needs in order to overcome some of its major obstacles. With that being said, I just want to share some of the items that we hear that are brought up against every development. Every development, we hear a couple of things. We hear that, hey, it's going to be a burden on the school system, and our schools will be overcrowded with this new development. And we would like to reach out and give District 113A kudos. They recently did a study of the population and projection of students for the next coming 20 years. And this study actually shows a decrease of 450 students from 2010 to 2015. So school-age children from ages 5 through 18 plus has dropped 450 students from 2010 to 2015, and from 2015 to 2020, even with our current rate of growth of building 100 new homes plus a year, that population is going to decrease another 200 to 300 over the next 5 years. So again, our school population is going down. And also our overall median age of our residents, myself included, we're getting older. The last census, our average age went up 4 years, and over the next decade plus, it's going to go up another 4+ years. Another thing we hear is that new construction brings down property values. New construction obviously adds to the tax roll, and it adds new value to the community, but every new residential development, I think some of the existing board members would second this, has been housing units that have sold with $400,000 plus to even $500,000. So again, these type of residential communities are at a value that is increasing not only the community as a whole, but the surrounding neighborhoods as well. Another item we hear consistently with new development is that density is not cosmetically appealing and is quote-unquote bad. And the reality of the market, the buying market and the post-bubble consists of two major generations, the baby boom generation and the millennials. And both of these different age generations, they want housing units that require maintenance-free as much as possible, which in turn dictates a market of higher density, which lowers the cost to the buyer. And overall, if you think about it, in doing so, it's overall less usage of open space for new residential housing, across the nation. So again, I encourage you to Google this. Every national study that's out there continues to report housing markets are moving towards smaller lot sizes, while at the same time overall house size have increased dramatically. In fact, over the past 20+ years, the market is moving away from large suburban homes to larger housing units, albeit on much smaller lots. The federal government has quoted nationally that lot sizes are down 20%. However, housing square footage is up 50% over the last decade or two. So again, as a whole, we continue to look for economic growth, both residential as well as non-residential, albeit at the right standard that we can all agree upon. We respect and we appreciate everyone's feedback, and I always encourage a sit-down discussion. I'm here pretty much every single day, and I encourage people to come in so we can address individual concerns. Versus it being, you know, I understand public meetings is sometimes the only route we can go. We usually get a lot more done, right, Steve, when we do it individually, and it's a lot more productive. So I encourage that. With that being said, you know, we do prefer to work with reputable builders and builders that are high quality and builders that will do what they say they're going to do. And in this case, you know, I think their reputation proves that out. Beecham and Dill is one of those builders, and we appreciate what they've done in the community. They're wrapping up a very high-quality subdivision just west of this one as well. They build in the area. They're known as a high-quality and a very good regional player. So again, we appreciate their interest in our town. And I guess with that being said, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Matt, but Matt Dill, do you want to come up and maybe give a couple of 2 cents you have on your project?
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate that. Just want to introduce myself in case I haven't in the past. It's Matt Dill, Beecham and Dill Homes. I just want to thank everyone for their input thus far on the plan. And I'm excited to be here today. I'm excited about where the plan is at. And most importantly, I'm excited about the potential to continue to be able to build in this great community.
Hey, Rick, you're on. Sorry, but they're just he disconnected. So yeah, Rick, you're good. Matt Dill is from Beecham and Dill speaking now. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So when we come into these situations, we're always looking for a win-win. Not only are we a local custom home builder, but my name is on the sign. So it's so important that we start off on the right foot when we work in these municipalities, and we build a great relationship, not only with the town itself, but obviously for all the customers that we're building homes for. It's been a generation passed down to me. I'm a second-generation home builder. Is the first thing that my father beat into my head. It's your reputation, your integrity that stands up, and never forget that your name's on the sign. So I take that personally. And build every house with the utmost integrity and quality. But we're local, as the mayor said. We don't have the opportunity to build all across the state or across the nation. We're right here, a neighboring town in Orland Park and Homer Glen, and we do get to pick where we could build. And we picked to build in great towns. And Mayor pointed out the schools here. That's what's driving our focus here. Schools, your proximity to expressways. You've got a lot of great attributes with it, and we're building right down the street in Enclave, and we have 3 lots remaining, and so we're hoping that this would be a rollover for us and be able to continue to build here for a few years to come. So this, unfortunately, has been a challenging site. It's one that we have fought back and forth trying to make this all come to fruition, challenging with the seller. It's going into foreclosure. As you know, there's 2 previous developers that didn't succeed with it. It's a corner parcel, so it has some challenges with that, additional landscaping. On top of that, we're landscaping on the other 2 sides, so all 4 will have landscaping. Wetlands on site, utility poles on site, so there's definitely some legit challenges, but we've kept our head down and we're plowing as best we can ahead with it, and trying to make this project work. So we put a lot of time and effort into it, and we listened to the feedback, and we went back to our engineer. We redesigned the site. We dropped a building, dropped 2 units. It overall loosened up the plant, gave it less density, gave it more open space, opened up the wetland area, opened up the on-site park. And we did that without watering down any of the architecture, and that's something that we feel so strongly about. We easily could have went back and dummied down the architecture, stripped the brick and masonry off the house, said let's put asphalt driveways in and cheap windows and save that money and do that, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to put our sign up and our name on that. So we're sticking with the plan of doing masonry on all 4 sides, premium architectural grade shingles, premium wood-clad windows, and concrete driveways. So I really do think the plan has come a long way, and I'm really proud of it. And I do believe that this is going to be a great addition to the Lamont community. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, before we open it up to the public, anyone else have any thoughts, comments?
I just want to say one thing that, before I came here, I just went online and just checked the MLS. There's 25 townhomes available in Lamont right now. There is a huge shortage. We have an aging community, and 16,000, almost 17,000 residents. 25 townhomes. We have a shortage. And we have people in town here who want to stay in town, an aging community, and we need to have somewhere for them to go.
Yeah, and I think, with that being said, when you have turnover, I tell everyone, I see it on my street. When I moved in 11 years ago, we saw bicycles. Bicycles have been replaced with cars. Cars are now gone. Everyone's off to school. And for the first time, we're starting to see baby carriages, which means some of the houses are turning. But I have a lot of friends, a lot of empty nesters that they want to stay in Lamont, but they don't have a place to move to. And again, that's what's, gonna, bring the cycle, full circle. So with that being said, anyone else on the board? Okay, at this time, I'd like to open it up to the public for comments. If you feel comfortable, please mention your name. Again, we got a pretty good group here, size group. If possible, let's try and keep it to something reasonable, and we'll go from there.
Y'all remember me? Hi, Brian Crowther.
Hi, Brian.
It's Crowther. It was wrong in the minutes.
Pardon me?
And actually, most of what I said wasn't included. It was very watered down. I wanted to address some of the things that you just said. So, as you remember, I moved in July of last year. So we're talking about, it starts out with a development for seniors, right? So you're marketing towards seniors, which they're here, right? And they own homes, and they've owned them for 30 years across the street. They're selling a $400,000 home. They're not buying a $400,000 townhome, okay? That's not realistic. There's also 25 townhomes for your neighbors that are looking to downsize, Mayor, as we just mentioned, right on Redfin. So it's frustrating to see so much positive thoughts from you. So I've lived here for a year. I moved here because of what Lamont is, not because I thought that we're going to be trying to change it, the most rural street in the town. It's a county road. And now, if you let this happen, every time any one of us drives down 131st Street, we will see an attached unit dwelling. It sets the new precedent that 131st Street is no longer the most rural street in Lamont. Or maybe it is until the next time you do it. And then the next time, and then the next time. And then after 4, then all of a sudden, it's not what people are moving here for. On my bus, on my kid's bus, I have 2 children on my bus. On my bus, there's 5 kids that I know that moved from Darien in the last year, including me, to $400,000 single-family homes on over a half-acre lot. Not to a $400,000 townhome that my mom can't afford because she can afford a $270,000 home in townhome, single-family home in Romeoville. In a PUD, right? It's in a planned unit development, but they also have tenants. And they got 2 pools. And they got golf courts. Just like everyone is moving, or Florida, or Arizona. So using the aging community is silly. It doesn't make sense. I'll tell you what, I see Kettering, like, my opinions differ from many of my neighbors, right? I've been here for a year. I'm used to seeing 10,000, 12,000 square foot lots. I see Kettering and I like it. Some people don't like it. Some people tell you, I've been fighting this lot for 30 years. You're not going to hear that from me. I'd rather be at home reading to my kids. I don't want to be standing here talking to you. It's silly to think that in the most rural corner of Lamont, we're going to have 40 attached units visible from the street. It no longer will look like what it looks like. It doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense to use seniors as an excuse. It also doesn't make sense to use millennials as an excuse. Millennials can't afford a $400,000 townhome. Millennials have already bought a $200,000 townhome in the city or in Darien or in Woodridge. And they say, well, they say two things. One, I want a bigger home in Lamont, which we have. And two, I don't want to PUD anymore. I don't want a planned unit development because the neighbors across the street were jerks. Because of all the problems that all of us have heard, all of us have lived with, owning in a planned unit development, owning in an association, having to deal with that. People move out to this section where this development is to get away from that. I'm blown away that we're talking about putting this there. Townhomes, put them downtown. Townhomes, put them somewhere where you have stuff. I mean, I pulled up your planning, your zoning. You've got a lot of stuff online, right? And I've read it all. It's really fascinating reading. I mean, you look at as I mentioned before, in the last time you addressed this property, you said it doesn't make sense, R5. You said it makes more sense to do R4. You did the right thing last time you looked at it, and you rezoned it to R4. And now, and I already read out the why. I read your notes verbatim as to why you rezoned it to R4. And now all it is dollars. Give us 27 homes. I'm not here. Give us 27 single-family homes, and I'll probably actually talk my neighbors out of coming to the next meeting. Don't put 40 attached units there. And if you do, don't put 40 attached units that are adjacent to the street. Your last note said, the last time you looked at this, you said it doesn't make sense to put an attached property here because you have everyone on each side of it is a large lot, single-family home, and you don't do it. You said you want it to be instead of a drastic change from an acre to a attached, you want it to be incrementally changing. This is not incrementally changing from what we currently have. You cannot say that, what is it, 3 attached units on an acre, so 6 homes. You know, it's cute how you can change these numbers around, right? It's not 3 units, it's not 3.1 units, it's 6.2 units, 6.2 homes. You can't say that 6.4 homes on an acre is consistent with the person that lives in their backyard. I'm blown away. People are moving to Lamont, as we mentioned in the article that we talked about last month. People are moving to Lamont because of what Lamont is, because our schools are awesome, because we have great big lots, great big homes, nice stuff. They're paying $450 for a home, right off. They're paying $500 for a home. They don't care. They want to move in here. Don't change it. And if you do, develop it, right? Put a home on there. That's it.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Can I respond to that?
Well, there were people, but other people are coming up, so I don't know.
My name is David Mullen. I live at 13200 Silver Fox Drive, Lamont, Illinois, Lamont Township, USA. I moved to this location 25 years ago, a quarter century ago. A good portion of my adult life has been spent in this community. Even though I live in the township, I consider Lamont, the village of Lamont, my hometown. I included this in my impassioned letter to each and every board member here. My children went to school in Lamont. I shop in Lamont. I go to restaurants in Lamont. I love Lamont the way it is. When I first moved here, I lived in Bolingbrook, Illinois. I lived there for 18 years. Their motto was, it was a great place to grow when I first moved there. There were about 12,000 people there when I first moved there. We had open fields and very little housing. And a boom came. Very little, I shouldn't say very little housing. There was a lot of housing, but not much industrial. A boom came with Roger Clare, and we decided that it became too citified. Too much like the city that my wife and I moved away from. Berwyn, Cicero, north side of Chicago. I lived in Oak Park as a youth. We chose Lamont on purpose, Lamont Township. I made a conscious decision to move in the unincorporated neighborhood rather than move in town into a newer home that had all oak rails and all oak doors. For the same money, I bought a piece of property with a Centex home that needed a lot of work, which I have since put in it. I've invested more money in the home today than what I spent on it originally. I've more than doubled my investment in that home. Thankfully, the market has recovered considerably, and in my neighborhood, homes are selling again. There wasn't a home sold in my neighborhood for many, many years. But across the street from me, a young family, the Cunninghams, who couldn't be here today, have 5 young children who are going to Lamont schools. The other family across the street, George and his family, who his son spoke up here eloquently at one of our other meetings. Also, a young family that moved from Darien or in Clarendon Hills, I forget, Berwyn, to come and live in the community where we are in a rural neighborhood. I agree with everything that Brian said, but I can speak to it from, back's bothering me, from greater experience because of my age and the things that I've seen and done here in Lamont. We love Lamont the way it is. I understand that you must develop and you must have income, and I encourage you to do so where it is proper. I encourage you to encourage some developer to properly develop the corner behind me. I'm tired of the dust storms. I'd love to see beautiful homes back there. The entire premise of the recommendation of your staff was based on the first paragraph of the analysis, which, according to the 2030 comprehensive plan, which I assume you paid for, good money, and you're going to completely and totally obliterate based on an erroneous recommendation because it is an error. It says that in a typical neighborhood, which you recommend this remain a non-commercial, regular citizen dwelling residential neighborhood, a density of 2 to 4 dwelling units per acre in your normal residence here, which is about a 1/4 acre property. We saw that at Kettering. It claims that the proposed development is consistent with typical gross density in a CVN at 3.3 dwelling units per acre. There is zero transition from 3.3 dwelling units per acre to 1 dwelling unit per acre, which is every home and every property that surrounds this piece of property has 1 home per acre, and across the street on the north side, maybe 1.3 because they got 3/4 acre lots. It is absolutely, totally inconsistent with your plan. In addition, they're asking for amendments on your plan going forward, even if you went ahead with R5. The proposed changes, and I must say I appreciate the limited changes you made, but they're not deep enough. They're still asking for other side and backlot amendments to the code. You're still not following your own code, which I assumed you paid somebody good money to develop. I know that this village has outlay that it's unfortunate financial outlay that you don't want to be spending for legal fees with regard to the Cook County lawsuit about the annexed properties. But I can tell you this, if this board approves this annexation in the form that has been proposed tonight, I've had a long discussion with a number of the contiguous and adjacent property owners. We will look at every avenue legally available to us to fight it and to continue to fight this. We're not done if you vote yes tonight. It's just the beginning. And I appreciate, I don't make threats. It's not a threat. I'm telling you because from my heart, this does not belong there. Will it improve or hurt my value of my property? I don't know. I'd like to see it developed with really beautiful homes, though, single-family homes. And I encourage Beach and Dill, build 27 beautiful homes there if they want. I prefer 25. But I will surrender the microphone. Thank you for allowing me to speak again to this issue. And I implore you to vote no on this exact proposal. Have them come back with something better for the community. Thank you.
Thanks, David. All right, next up.
One thing I forgot to add. Yeah, I know, thank you. One thing I forgot to add was the schools are actually increasing. The students are increasing. So the data was from 2010 to 2015. There's actually more students right now. There were more students in Oakwood River Valley, 200 more.
Yeah, gotcha. Brian, we're talking all age groups, from kindergarten to through high school. And you know what? Let's have a separate meeting, and I'll give you the data. Okay. Thank you, though. Appreciate again your comments. Okay. Next up.
It's not that boring of a meeting. Come on, man.
I just thought, my name is Mary Craven. I moved here about 1.5 years ago. And I wanted to share, oh, I'm nervous.
It's okay. That's all right.
I wanted to share a quick story that the real estate agent told us when we moved here. She's really heavy too. She was actually sharing with us how, a lot of the, people are moving out of Lamont, or people are getting a little older. However, their kids are actually moving back to the city. And so they want to raise their kids back in the town that they grew up in, which I think is really nice. And I think it kind of just goes to show that it's not all older, it's more people with younger kids that are going to be in the schools. Same thing with us, though. We moved here. We didn't know anybody in Lamont. We just came here because we drove by and we liked the look of the houses and we like the land. I'm so nervous. We like the land. We have a ½ acre now, and it's great for us, and our kids love it, and so that was just a quick story I wanted to tell you.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it.
Hi there. I'm Dr. John Fredrickson. I live on Silver Fox Drive on the north side of 131st Street. I've lived there for 22 years. I moved to Lamont as a single person. I bought a house with around 2/3 of an acre. Contrary to what you said, Mayor, I grew up in a community where the minimum lot size was 5 acres. I grew up in Barrington Hills, so people do like land, and that is the reason I moved to Lamont. We're staying there. I'm staying there. I'm not moving. I love the lot. I love my yard. Please try to keep this into the same type of setting that many of us that came here for that particular reason. Thank you.
Thanks, Doctor. Okay, next up, Steve.
Hi, my name is Steve Rosendahl. Excuse me, I'm a little dry here. I live at 104 Doolin Street in Lamont, Illinois, Timberline subdivision. I'm the Lamont Township Supervisor, so I want to be very clear here that I'm speaking on behalf of the township and my board. Lamont Township includes incorporated and unincorporated. So I've been, and my board has been elected to represent everyone in the village of Lamont. I sent a position statement that our board prepared a couple weeks ago, so you've had plenty of time. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just want to make sure that a couple of points are considered. First, I've been part of this community. I sat in the same chairs that you're sitting. I've been a township supervisor for over 13 years. I sat there for 4 years. So I understand development, and I understand balancing what's good and right. And this is a tough position. So I'm just going to cover a couple of points. Development is good. I'm not, and the township is not against development. We are not against duplexes. As a matter of fact, we've embraced a development around the open space that included multifamily homes and controlled growth and certainly having the housing stock for the people that will come in our community and want to live here and embrace it is very important. So I want to say that. But it's got to be in the right place. So just a couple of quick points. This proposed development does not contain the amount of open space that we've always required. And over the years, I'm not a lifelong Lamonter. I've only been around 28 years, but I've seen quite a few of the developments, and never have we seen one with such little open space. I share my neighbor's point that I'm glad to see the one unit go down. That's a good start, but let's not stop there. So it just doesn't have the open space that we all came and moved to this community to be a part of. The second point is the character of this development, and I'm in favor of duplexes because I'm just like you, John. I'm going to be looking to move from my house and not care for my yard, but let's put it in the right spot. The character of this development within dropped right in the middle of all the large lots just isn't consistent unless you're going to impact the road from the view from the street or the view from the people around it. Traffic hasn't been sufficiently studied or addressed. Again, I appreciate the contribution to the light because I believe a light at Parker Road is absolutely imperative. Our neighbors to the south have made Parker Road wider, and now we become the funnel, but they still come down that road because they don't want to drive on the tollway and spend the amount of money to be on the tollway. So a light's their key, and I think contribution towards that is great, and I certainly appreciate that. But I think we need to study the amount of cars because 27 multifamily homes, whatever it was going to be, versus 40 units, the cars, I mean, we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing. The wetland environmental, this is the biggest part of my concern. Over the years, I've addressed the unincorporated residents having flooding problems from the development along 131st Street. When we put the water and the sewer along the roads, we flooded some of our neighbors that we've since fixed and mitigated, but we got to be, this is the last piece right there. So we keep taking away the soil and making it impervious, and that water's got to go somewhere. So I encourage you to make sure that the wetland and all of the environmental issues are done in a satisfactory way, and I know you will. I know you will. I want to be a partner here. I don't want to be standing here to being against development, but I want to make sure it's right, and I want to make sure that we're doing the best for our community. And I believe you guys build great houses, and I believe you'll do the same thing. So let's figure out how we get a little bit closer. In conclusion, I don't want to be adversarial because our community has been blessed by being able to work together. And I offer the township and I offer all the resources that we have to work with however we can to make this as good a development as it can be. Right now, I think we can do better. So let's try and make it better. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Hi, my name is Joe Zaire. I live at 12945 Silver Fox Drive. I'm a more recent resident of Lamont, like some of the other people. I've only lived here a couple of years. But I moved here because of the characteristic of the neighborhood, the lot size, the lack of density. I want to see your business succeed. As a businessman, I do want to see you succeed, and I want to expand on something the last gentleman said, that I do think they need to do development in the proper place. And I would suggest, before looking to the hinterlands of Lamont and unincorporated Lamont, you might want to look to downtown and some of the blighted properties in the downtown area and that's already filled in. I think those are more ripe for development. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Joe. Okay. All right, anyone else? I think we have one more.
Jeanette DeBarris. I live on Derby Road, right across from the development of the Gray Ghosts is what I call them. I'm sorry if anybody owns one of those. But I have to tell you, I'm really sad to even be here tonight. I don't want to be here tonight because I feel like the village of Lamont now has gone against us. They've stabbed us in the back. We have all the way from Bell Road down 131st, all the way to Archer Avenue, are single-family homes on large lots. There is no multifamily in that area whatsoever. How can you say that this fits in there? Now, I understand, I'm sorry, I understand that you have a financial interest that you're trying to work out for your business, and you have a financial interest that you're trying to get more rooftops so you can get more tax money. I understand that, but why should we be the ones that, when people come to Lamont and they drive down 131st, they don't know that we're unincorporated. They think we're part of Lamont. We are part of Lamont. So they see these beautiful homes, well kept. Everybody's got flowers in the spring. Everybody enjoys being out in the fresh air with their little kids and that. I don't see why we have to have this development at this place at all. I'm sorry. It's a matter of money. Let's face it. What it is money. Village needs money with house rooftops. Developer needs money for that. And Mr. Beecham and Mr. Dill or whoever is here tonight, I'm on Lamont Road where you are putting up 18 homes. They're very nice homes. Why can't you put that on this property if in fact, that is what you want? And they aren't all on acre lots either, I got to tell you. But they are on larger lots. They have side yards, they have backyards. They're kind of close together, but they're positioned in a way that it makes it look nice, okay? And you have to understand that I and another person in this audience for 20 years fought the development of that Leonis farm. 20 years we were able to keep a developer that wasn't going to develop it properly out, okay? Frankly, I'm tired of fighting. I've been out here 30 years. I love my house. I love my yard. I love the animals that I see. But I want to tell you a few more things about, and I read, the second annexation. I have a problem with the fact that there was no open space. Now there's a little bit more, I guess, a little bit. But the other problem that I have is that if you look at this property and you take and look at it as I did and started figuring out how much of impermeable surface that you're going to have here. Now, I don't know, it's impermeable surface. And what it means is that liquid won't go anyplace on the ground. So you have, and I'm going to speak to just one of the townhomes or duplexes. In one of the duplexes, the lot is approximately 6,200 square feet. Okay, of that 260 square feet, The building itself takes up about 63 to 68% with impermeable surface. No place for the water to go. The other part of it, take a look at what's there. You have a driveway for a two-car garage that goes in, all right? It's going to be 18 feet wide, so many feet long. There you go. You've got another section of impermeable surface. You have a sidewalk. And then let's talk about the street. And this one isn't, my other are pretty accurate. But this one, I didn't want to deal with the curves, but when I figured it out, we have another acre of impermeable surface, the street, the 30-foot street. Then we talk about the 15-feet street that you have from the street to the building line, or the lot line. That's also going to have some impermeable surface on it. Where is this water going to go for 40 homes in that area? There's no place for it to go. Okay? There isn't a detention pond on the lot for it to go to. It can't go in the ground because it's not there. Where is it going to go? How is it going to get? Water Reclamation District requires you to get a permit. If you didn't know it, you know it now. And they're going to have detention in that. I can't understand why you would do this to the landowners around that area. This is going to cause flooding. Make no mistake about it. It's going to cause flooding. That water has no place else to go. And I'd like some information about this 14-foot landscaping, or 15-foot landscaping that you're putting around. Is this on the lots that are there, on the back of the lot? Is it actually on the lot? It's well, it's on your property now. Is it going to be on the property of the homeowner when they go in there? So you're taking, well, if it's on the border, they probably have 30-foot backyards. Okay, so you're taking 15 feet of that 30-foot backyard and you're going to put plantings on it. Now their backyard really is only 15 feet, right? I don't understand how we could put this type of a subdivision in the area where we're at. Now, to get back to your amendments, I read through them, okay? And I know you reduced it to 40. Not much help with the impermeable surface. And the second thing I had, I was reading through this, and I've been involved in development for a long time, and planning and zoning. And I have to tell you, I was reading through this, and I got to one of the articles, and it said that while you are the purchaser, that even before this starts, the property is not going to be theirs. They don't have to purchase the property until March 9th of 2019. Now, to me, that made the hair on the back of my head kind of stand up a little bit, because I've been around long enough that I have seen so many subdivisions go into, problems. And I'll tell you, I'm going to name them. I'm going to start. Okay? Equestrian Estates. When I first moved out here, Equestrian Estates was in bankruptcy. Okay. Then we had the Ruffled Feathers. Ruffled Feathers went into bankruptcy. The Glens of Connemara went into bankruptcy during the development period. I know there was one more that I can't think of right now. But it really made me think whether or not there is a financial base for this development to even go forward. If you're, it sounded like you're going to be paying off for the land as you sell one of these units. And I'm just wondering why that has to be if this is, such a great development. And I'm telling you, you see my hair? I don't want to live in an attached housing. I don't want my family living next door either, let me tell you. Because I have my own home. I do with it what I want to do with it. And I've lived here for 30 years. And in order to get that house, what we did is we were riding by, my husband and I were riding through the neighborhood, and we saw a little sign pounded up on a tree on the corner. and it had a phone number on it, and they were selling the lot. We bought the lot. We went to an architect, and we took a plan that we knew and noticed and we liked, and we got the documents, the architect drawing. We hired each one of our people that were building it. I had a union contractor do the carpentry. I had a cement person that I knew for the longest time to do the basement. We did it all, he and I, my husband and I both. We built this house, and we were there for, I'm there for 30 years. Unfortunately, I lost him in 2009. I don't want to go anyplace else, and I really don't want to see the subdivision there. And it just seems to me that there are problems with it, and whether or not it's going to be able to go through. So I hope that you will take a second look at this, and I hope that you will not allow it to go through. I'm sorry, it doesn't belong there. I don't care what your plan commission said, and it is going to affect the value of the properties around it. I think that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Jeanette.
Kathy Hendrickson. I live at 1321 Chestnut Crossing. I actually moved from the house that one of the gentlemen just came up, Mr. Sayer. He said my address and it brought back memories. My husband and I bought out in that area for the same reason, because it had a nice country, semi-rural feel. You know, as you're hearing over and over again, you know, you did change, not this board, all of you, but some of you were involved in the comprehensive plan change. And quite frankly, I don't know why you change it, because there is a market for single family in an open area. That's one of the things that attracted us here. And when we were ready, my husband and I, our children were all raised, and we were ready to buy a townhome, we had no problem finding a nice one in town, and we moved into town. So now we live in the village of Lamont. So it's, there's a, my understanding, and I was involved in quite a few of the comprehensive plan meetings over the years, is that there was a transition from the downtown area, that's where the higher density, and then you have Townhome Alley now on the east side there of McCarthy Road, and that's, you know, kind of a nice area to put pockets of townhomes. And then now you've come out to the semi-rural area and you see fit to put townhomes, and, you know, quite frankly, it doesn't work. You can see that, you know, the people that live out there are not happy about it. I don't understand at all why you've done it, but it's one of the questions I want to bring up is I sat and listened to the open space, no park. Very concerned about that area and the park. The fact that all of the boards over the years have saw fit to give land instead of cash in land instead of, you know, building parks. All the developers, one by one, have taken the money and they've invested the money in other parts of the community. Our area has never had a park. We've never had a community gathering place that our kids could go to. So that's always been a big issue, and I brought that up over and over again. And so I'm going to bring it up again tonight. It might be a moot point, but in light of some of the public hearings for this development, my understanding is that there is land that is to be deeded to MI Homes at some point. This developer actually used that park as, you know, in the public hearing as, he used that as an example of how the people could walk across the street and have recreation at the MI home development, which isn't even there. After speaking with some of the people at the Park District, there's no money in the budget right now, whether they deed the land to them or not, in the near future to build the park. So now you have a 132-acre farm that we've developed in high density, the highest density for that entire area, and no public place again for us to gather. Now there is land, but there's no money. So that's something for a Park District meeting that maybe we should all get together and find out why this entire region, who pays the most, probably region-wide, park tax, still doesn't have a decent park. If you look at all the developments and the property value out there, we don't have a park out there. So I'm kind of offended that, you know, another developer is gonna come in, you know, and we're not gonna have a park there. We're not gonna have any public gathering. We couldn't even get a walking trail around MI Homes, which is pretty pathetic. I mean, every community around us will plan in a way where you can get a walking trail out of a development of 132 acres. So I'm disappointed in that. I'd like to speak to the wetland. It is a jurisdictional wetland. Even the Army Corps of Engineers said it was a poor quality wetland, but a wetland's a wetland. And it looks pretty nice. And I always enjoy driving by it when I live by there. And I would like to make sure, I understand that the Army Corps will be responsible, or the developer will be responsible to the Army Corps of Engineers for 3 years to make sure that it is maintained and planted properly. And that's wonderful, but I would like to request that the Homeowners Association continue contributing money for the upkeep of that wetland so that we know that it is taken care of and it doesn't look like the wetland area that was supposedly planted across the street in the MI Homes. That is a very poor example of native plantings around the detention area there. It needs to be completely dredged out, replanted. I hope that's in the plan, and before any money goes back to that developer, you make them work on that, because that is an eyesore right now. It's also, one of my concerns is it does state in the plan that the some of the detention will go east to Bruce Kipling's, detention area. Is that correct? No, it's all going to the west, and then it'll go into the Long Run Creek? Okay, then I won't speak to that, because all of those wetland, or those detention areas in Fox Hills Estates and in that area are the responsibility of the homeowners. So for us to feed anything more into that, it would be inappropriate, in my opinion. As far as, moving into townhomes, 2 of the 4 townhomes that have just sold in my area, which is the Chestnut Crossing, have children, a couple children. So it's not all, as you said, it's not just 55 and older buying townhomes. Some millennials, they don't want the upkeep of a yard, and they do like that market. But to me, it just seems more fitting to have the townhomes in an area that isn't, in a semi-rural area. And what happens here will set the precedent for every pocket of land on 131st Street. I mean, there's a 12-acre parcel that's Derby and 131st, and you have the, by the barn there. That's gonna go to development. That'll be the same thing. And believe me, as soon as you approve this tonight, there will be a developer, and there's already one with the plans ready to turn it in. So you'll have more developments like this along 131st Street on visible corners, which I think is inappropriate. If you want to put them in pockets of land where they're tucked away, and it's different. But we all, as a community, for the very first time, I felt, and I lived there for 22 years, I felt like we were all one. Lamont was finally all one. And now I feel as if that's going to change, because you are going to come in and you're going to do the exact same thing with a high-density, intrusive plan that's too intense for that area and that corner. You're going to do the same thing that we fought Palos on. We, as a community, we wanted control of the development. We wanted Lamont in control of the land out there. We love Lamont. We've all considered ourselves Lamont, not unincorporated residents. And that's why we all got together and tried to, have control. I myself have brought many of my friends and homeowners out there to the annexation table with the village. I've worked with 3 previous village administrators to make sure that we would all work together and have control over development so that we could keep Lamont the place we all love to live. And I just feel like by this type of development and not going back to the drawing board and looking at this again and giving it some more time is inappropriate on your part. So I would really ask you all to reconsider voting on this tonight and table it. I do think that, you know, this developer just said that he only has 3 more homes left on Derby Road, so there is a market. Single-family homes are more appropriate for that area. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just forgot one thing. That everybody here should know in here. And that is because Palos Park is annexed in the farm, and because there was a plan that the farm had put forth to Cook County, it was turned down. Again, very high density. Few single-family homes. Brian, you were here when that came through. And there was mostly townhomes, and there was also row houses that would have been in the backyards of those homes that are on 1-acre lots. So that when they looked out their back window, they were going to see a brick wall. This is what's going to happen if this subdivision goes in also. This is the key, all right? Because then Palos Park is going to come, well, you did it for them, why can't we do it? And that is going to change everything in that area if it goes through. So we have to look forward to what's going to happen in that particular area. There's still open spaces all along 131st Street. There's 12 acres at the end of Derby Road, too, that was donated by the schools that hasn't been developed yet. It was supposed to be developed as a school, but they haven't done anything about it. So thank you. I just wanted to remind you.
Thanks, Jeanette, for that additional point. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. With that being said, this next vote is just to end the hearing. So there will be a vote on the actual PUD when we get into the clerk's report. So just want to give everyone a heads up there. So need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion by trustee Maher, seconded by trustee Kwasniewski. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, so that ends our public hearing. Before we move on, we got a couple of things on the mayor's report. All right, what's going on around town? So this Friday, Lamont Park District will hold their Arbor Day celebration at noon, which will include fun activities for the children. Visit their website at lamontparkdistrict.org for more information. The Lamont Lions will hold their spring dinner and meat raffle on Sunday, April 29th at the VFW Hall from 12 to 4 p.m. Visit their website at lamontlions.org for more additional information. The Lamont Historical Society will have a tour of Lincoln Park Nursery and School just off Old Derby Road on May 5th from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Recall, access to Old Bluff Road is just north of the Hindu temple on the right-hand side. Visit lamonthistorical.org for additional information. The Park District's Touch a Truck will be held on May 5th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Old Quarry's parking lot. The Lamont High School Spring Musical, Samuel French's Grease, will be performed on May 10th, 11th, and 12th at 7 p.m. at the Performing Arts Center. So be sure everyone to run out after this meeting and purchase your tickets. I think they're going to be a hot item. They can be purchased through the school's website at lhs210.org. The Lamont Garden Club will host their annual spring plant sale on May 12th from 9 a.m. to noon at the Lamont Park District's front parking lot. And lastly, registration is still taking place for the Quarryman Challenge. It's the 10-mile and 5K. It will be ran on Saturday, May 12th, so we encourage everyone to come out either to participate or to participate in the fun activities afterwards. I heard if you sign up, you get free beer and pizza, so that's worth it, you know, alone by itself. But anyway, they still need volunteers for race day as well. Visit quarrymanchallenge.com. With that being said, we've had our Public participation for the hearing now. We have our usual audience participation. If anyone has any comments on any other subjects, please step up to the microphone. Looks like we have no other participants. With that being said, we will move on now to the clerk's report.
Thank you. I attended the Municipal Clerks of Illinois continuing education program. They have one every spring. This one was held in Rock Island on this past Thursday and Friday. The first ordinance that passed this evening would be O-18-18, and this is authorizing the execution of the Second Amendment to the annexation agreement of Paradise Park.
Okay, need a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee McClafferty, seconded by trustee Kwasniewski. Jason, any other additional thoughts or comments?
So this is the annexation agreement. It does rezone the property to R5, and it approves the 40 unit or 20 building PUD.
Okay. Do we want to have?
Matt, is there anything you wanted to comment on based on the testimony at the public hearing, or did everything get covered from a staff level?
Yeah, I think everything got covered.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So any other questions or comments by the board?
Debbie has one.
I do.
Debbie.
Hi, thank you. I just have a few comments because this is a property that I've debated about and thought long about because of the fact of where it's located and the density. And I actually like duplexes, and I like this builder, and I think he does a quality job, which are the good things. My concerns are the parking. The park, as I think Kathy mentioned, because in the open space. And that's something that I've always been concerned when we have developments, because the whole cash in lieu of land, I don't always agree with. I know the park district doesn't always have money for the maintenance, but I think there should be some kind of open space and trails. I'm a little uncomfortable with the density and the fact that there's views from the unincorporated side where there's many homes alongside it. I know in the development across the street, we put larger lots along some of the bigger properties, and the more dense lots were a little bit further away. I don't think there's really that opportunity to do that so much the way it's currently planned. I appreciate the fact that the developer did take one lot from there, which I had said I'd like to see, another lot, and it actually just pulled, when I looked and compared it, looked like it kind of pulled the one lot out of the pond. I know it wasn't in the pond, but just from the diagram, it looks like it pulled it further away from the pond. And I'm not against, the type of development. I'm just very uncomfortable with the cul-de-sac being so tight. I don't know where snow is going to go, and I know Ralph said he can handle that, but I think he's putting it in the parking island in the middle, which would take away the 8 spots or whatever is there, but you've got 12 homes around the 8 spots, and I know you can park in the driveways there, but there's really not much space for street parking in that cul-de-sac. And again, just the fact that it's such a long cul-de-sac and the fact that there's so many homes there makes me a little bit uncomfortable with this development. But I just want the developer to know that I think you do a great job, and I think it would be a great product, and I appreciate the fact you didn't dummy down or, when you had to take out a home, because clearly we don't want poor quality there. But I'm not entirely in support of your project, and I just wanted to make this statement.
Okay.
Can I say one thing?
Anyone? Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, I've heard from the audience, they're saying that, let's not put this in a rural area that, it was mentioned hinterland, and let's not put it out here. If you drive home from here to that property, it takes about 3.5 miles. And in 1 mile radius from this site, you got a Menards, a Home Depot, a Myers, a Wendy's, Starbucks. It might be.
Okay, I'm sorry. Please, we've had that. This is not a debate. Please give him the courtesy.
It's a mile radius. If you go on Google Earth and you pull it from Goodings Grove and you go all the way around to Fox Hills, you're within a mile radius of that development. And let's go 1.5 miles. We're 3.5 miles from here to that development. So it might be 25, when that was built in 1978, that was rural. Actually, it was rural before Fox Hills went in there, or right the very same time that was being developed, just south of there, in Erin Hills, there were quarter-acre lots. That was all being developed there, back in 1978. There's satellites. You can go on there. It'll show you the progression. As far as the water, all the water in Erin Hills is not being contained within that subdivision. You've all those acre lots. You have 2 man-made ponds there, and they're not being contained. Now, this developer, we got to deal with those water issues, and I'm sure he will, and he'll do a good job of it. But that's, you know, if you think this 40-unit development is going to change, wait till you see what happens when Payless gets their hands on all that land out there that we had access to at one time. We've missed that. Once that development in Goodings Grove, that rural identity went with it.
Thanks, Ken. Anyone else? Please, please. Anyone else on the board, please? Any other comments? Yeah, I mean, I just got a couple, we recognize this. We recognize it's always difficult when there's development in your backyard. And, you know, the fact is on 131st Street, there will be more development. Absolutely there is. There's going to be development in Payless Park just east of there, as Ken mentioned. There's going to be development on those open lots right there off of Parker and 131st. That's going to happen. And I hear about the stoplight. I agree we need to get it there. That's a county road. We got to wait until the volume's there to justify it, unfortunately. As far as, you know, the site being a failed development, it has been a failed development. I agree. There's been 2 other developments from single family to, you know, higher density than what we're contemplating here. Those have fallen through. This is a difficult site. And as far as, you know, having residentials, I had a builder come in that said, hey, John, I wanted to build single-family homes. And I said, well, you got to buy it to do it, right? And, you know, and he could not make it work. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you know, Beecham and Dill, they do what they say they're going to do. And that's where respect comes in. You know, we continue to have, you know, either, you know, what we were just talking about, Steve, over, you know, right off Timberline, you know, it's another failed developer. These are developers, you know, this takes time and money. We can go down this road, and when it fails, it is very cumbersome to the village and its growth. And again, right now we have a builder that has stepped up to the plate that's going to pay the money, probably not make the money that he usually does, but, you know, this is a development that, you know, they put their name behind. So, you know, again, it's a development that has failed, and we're looking for success here. So I know that doesn't, you know, make probably the majority of this room happy or give you any feel-goods, but I want you to know we appreciate everything you say. I do. I hear what you're saying. And I know it sucks when development goes in your backyard. I mean, that's, you know, no one wants that, right? So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Anyone else have any other comments?
Well, Mr. Mayor, just to talk about a couple quick items. Engineering, drainage is important. We always look at it at the early portions of a development project, whether it be tech review, staff review, planning and zoning, committee of the whole. And just to make it clear, though, this is preliminary PUD. This is first the annexation agreement needs to get voted on, then preliminary PUD. All the engineering and drainage has to work from a final engineering standpoint. So if this is approved, this will come back, and if the developer can't make the engineering work, then it will not move forward. So this is still preliminary PUD. Another clarification item on the park donation. I know Kathy brought up the park. This property, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, is not exempt from the park donation. The problem with, you know, giving land in lieu of cash, which we had at Kettering, is that the Park District receives land, but they don't have the money up front to build a park, and that's why there is no park at this point. This property will pay cash in lieu of land to the Park District, and the park has to utilize those funds in the area in which they're the impact is being incurred. So this will help move the park development along at Kettering, which I think is a positive point when it comes to development. So I just wanted to make those two quick items. And I even, Ralph, we talked about earlier today, we could take the lead too on this is approved, and if not, we could still take the lead on doing some basic traffic counts to see if we can move that application for the traffic light along, and work with our partners, work with the Southwest Conference of Mayors on potential funding to make up for the gap that's not part of the developer's contribution. So we will take the lead on that item regardless, but I think those are just three clarification items I wanted to make.
Okay, thanks, George. Okay, anyone else on the board? All right, so just for clarity here, Andrew, we're going to do a roll call. To pass this, what is the count needed?
At least 2/3.
2/3.
Yes.
So four.
Pursuant to Lamont's ordinance, you guys created a supermajority by ordinance when you have a non-positive recommendation coming out of PBC.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that being said, roll call, please.
Stapleton?
Yes.
Blatzer?
No.
Kwasniewski?
Yes.
Maher?
Yes.
McClafferty?
Yes.
Snagowski?
Yes.
Okay, motion approved.
The next ordinance would be O-19-18, and this is granting preliminary plan/plat approval. A special use for the preliminary plan unit development, the PUD, and zoning map amendment for the 40-unit single-family attached residential subdivision located at 1301 Parker Road in Lamont, Illinois, Willow Point.
Okay, need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, motion by trustee Kwasniewski, seconded by trustee McClafferty. Jason, any clarity on this?
Nothing extra to add. This, again, as George added, it is the preliminary PUD approval. We'll continue to work with the developer and continue to keep the community informed as we move towards a final PUD.
Okay. Thanks, Jason.
Question.
Ron?
One of the speakers said he thought it was 6 units per acre. What is the correct number of units?
I believe it's 3.3.
3.3, that's what I thought. It wasn't 6.
Okay.
Units or people?
Buildings or homes? Two homes per unit.
Units.
So 3.3 is 6.6.
No.
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 The units are, yeah, okay.
2 units.
1 acre, they're gonna have
40.
3 addresses.
No.
No, they're gonna have 6 addresses on 1 acre.
There's 40 units on this, 20 buildings, 40 units. So the calculation is 40 units.
That's 12 acres.
Yeah, 40 divided by 12.
Right.
So 3.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else on the board? Okay, roll call, please.
Stapleton?
Yes.
Blatzer?
No.
Kwasniewski?
Yes.
Maher?
Yes.
McClafferty?
Yes.
Snagowski?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, motion approved.
The next item, if passed this evening, is a resolution, and this would be Resolution R-15-18. And this is approving an intergovernmental agreement to establish a government insurance network.
Okay, need a motion, or I'm sorry, yeah, need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee Blatzer, seconded by trustee Maher. George.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the village enters into the upcoming budget season that we've already approved the fiscal 18-19 budget last month by the village board, we're seeing some financial constraints, as the mayor mentioned earlier, and we're looking at all of our cost drivers, not only on our revenue side to try to increase revenues into the town, but also looked at our cost drivers. And health insurance is one of our larger components of our costs. It's about 10% of our general fund budget, about $1 million per year. So always looking at opportunities to bring that cost down. Myself and a few other administrators in the area have started to look at options for health insurance coverage. Currently we are part of a sub-pool, part of a larger pool at the IPPC level, and we've been evaluating options to move to a different pool and offer a different structure of coverage to bring down costs. So this resolution approves an intergovernmental agreement to enter into an agreement with 6 other communities to start a new network to provide health insurance for our employees. And in the first year, depending on movements between plans, we're looking at about a $70,000 savings in the first year. I think more important long-term is we're going to see a little bit more control over our plans, a little bit more control over our population. The pool will grow over time, but at this point, it's small but still large enough to be credible. The village has looked at options of going at it alone on health insurance. We're a little too small to go at it without other communities, and with the 6 other communities, we'll have close to 1,000 employee lives, which is a good number to kind of smooth out those trends over time. This will start in July. Today is the first step. We have to approve a intergovernmental agreement, which essentially sets the broad rules for the pool, and then the pool will go through and approve bylaws that are a little bit more restrictive, and the village will have a seat on that board to approve those bylaws moving forward. So just an opportunity, again, to work with some of our neighbors, a little bit more regional approach. We've had versus the larger pool has communities, districts all over Illinois. This one's a little bit more regional, right in our backyard. We're jumping on board with the village of Romeoville, Westmont, New Lenox, Frankfurt, Elmhurst, and Shorewood, and then more than likely there'll be a couple more communities that'll join per the board's vote on letting them in to ensure that we have a good pool moving forward. So just the first step, and this approves the agreement that binds the communities together. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, George. Nothing like health insurance to clear out a room, but as far as just a couple things of note. So this is, we're moving from a larger pool to a smaller pool, which will be where we will have a much higher vote or bigger vote, I should say. And also, I believe it's my understanding that this will actually bring down our health insurance cost as well.
It'll bring down the health insurance cost. The plans will stay relatively the same. We're still going to be a Blue Cross offering Blue Cross, and we've met with our employees, and I think that's important to the employees as well, that things are not going to change drastically. We're just taking a different approach and offering different plans so that we can bring the cost down a little bit and have a little bit more control.
Awesome. So this is a win-win. Obviously, health insurance costs, along with our pensions, are probably one of our fastest drivers in our costs as far as increasing. So again, thanks, George. Any other comments or questions? Okay. All right. We'll need a roll call, please.
Stapleton?
Yes.
Blatzer?
Yes.
Kwasniewski?
Yes.
Maher?
Yes.
McClafferty?
Yes.
Snagowski?
Yes.
Okay, motion approved. Okay, thank you,
That's all I have
Charlene.
this evening.
Okay, moving on. Village Attorney report. Andrew, do we have anything? Okay, thank you. George, Village Administrator report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple quick items. I did want to give an update. The village met at a committee of the whole level on the 4th Street connection opportunities, which is another hotly debated and very emotional issue for residents. So the village met on it at a committee level. No drastic decisions were made. There's a whole litany of history on this project of a gate that has restricted access from Covington Knolls going north to McCarthy Road on 4th Street. And I think we talked about 3 or 4 different factors in that decision, whether or not to open it up at the committee level, the legal component. We also talked about internal safety and operational, whether or not the public safety, fire department, police department can respond to incidents in a timely manner, and then also the public works component of ensuring plowing and other operational needs. But the third component that we looked at in detail is that we looked at this back in 2008, 2009, where we had a reputable traffic study analysis completed of the issue, which raised some concerns on kind of the secondary effects of making the connection of what's going to happen on McCarthy Road if you send more traffic out to, along 4th Street to McCarthy Road, which there were concerns listed in the study. Now, since 2009, the traffic patterns have changed dramatically, even though the tollway was still in place in 2008, 2009. There's also, in general, we've seen about a decrease of about 5,000 cars a day since that 2009 point. So I think the board, we talked about it, and I thought it'd be worthy to engage the company that did the study previously to update it. And I know Ralph's already reached out to that company, and we are going to start that before school gets out to ensure we have proper counts, with students going through there as well, to get an updated traffic count analysis, get some recommendations, and bring it back to the village board at a committee level, probably when the, Ralph, how long do you think the study will take? A couple months, you think, or?
Yeah, I'd
Yep.
say 45 days.
Okay.
On average.
So we'll bring that back once we have that analysis. It's always good to have complete information before we make a decision that could affect residents' lives. So I think we'll bring all that information up together and talk about it in a couple months at a committee level.
During the school year?
During the school year, we'll do the counts, correct.
Yeah. Obviously, that's a very contentious issue. We want to have the study. From there, we'll take the next steps as far as discussion and make sure we include everyone in the community so we get everyone's thoughts, specific to Keogh and 4th Street residents as well. Anything else, George? Okay, thanks. Board reports, anyone? Staff reports. I know, Mark, you have something for us.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In late March and again in April, Lamont community was visited again by burglary crews that are from outside of Lamont. And we've had similar crews come in during the holiday periods the last few years. And when I say similar, because they're not the same people. They're 16 and 17-year-olds, and when they turn 18, I think they're on to other things. They know that the juveniles are dealt with very lightly, especially for theft in Cook County. The state's attorney's office doesn't see theft as a type of crime that's worthy of their interest. So we in the communities all along the expressway system, as far north of Skokie, see these traveling crews come into our communities, and it's typically during the holiday period. This year we've seen them a little bit early, and we've stepped up our patrol and presence and haven't had any incidents since that time, but many of the other communities are continuing to experience the thefts. Now, what's unique about these folks is they don't break into anything. They only steal out of unlocked vehicles. So they will drop off at the in the neighborhood fairly close to an expressway exit and walk up and down the streets, try doors and steal what they can easily grab and get away with, and try to be in and out in 10 minutes. In the last few years, we've had some success, us and some of our neighboring communities, with identifying these crews through cameras or license plate readers, some private, some public, in and out. They've gotten smart, and they've learned from that, and now they exclusively use stolen vehicles. And if the police will identify those vehicles, as in the commission of those crimes, they'll flee because they know the police can't pursue for theft only. We had developed a PSA for dissemination this year, and we were planning to roll it out at Heritage Fest in anticipation of the holiday season. But since we've had these efforts come into town early this year, we decided to do that tonight. So I've passed around to you a copy of what that PSA is, and the PSA is lock it or lose it. So we have 3 different size brochures for the Lock It or Lose It campaign. We have a 8x10 that we're going to disseminate to the homeowners associations to put up in some of those areas. We have larger 11x15 brochures that we're going to hang in a lot of the public places like Village Hall and the train station. And then we have a lot more of the bumper size, sticker-sized cards that we're going to pass out to the residents at our different events and give to the officers so that they can pass those out. For instance, if they see a garage door open at night, that they could leave and let the folks know to please. But we believe if these are crimes of opportunity, if they come into Lamont and they don't have a lot of unlocked vehicles that they can steal from, they'll just go somewhere else. And that's, our goal is just to push them into another place and keep them out of Lamont.
Thanks, Chief. Yeah, and just to reiterate, you know, this, I guess it's good news, bad news, right? The good news is that these are isolated incidents. It does happen in other communities. This is not a, you know, an ongoing thing in Lamont. They do seem to come around the holidays. This time they changed it up a little bit, correct? And for the most part, what we're hearing is that these are typically juveniles coming from the city of Chicago. Is that true for the most part? And again, unfortunately, they know that, I guess the law is lenient in Cook County for these juveniles. So for the most part, these are just, they are just looking for unlocked cars. It's as simple as that. Unlocked cars, unlocked garage doors, or open garage doors, I should say. So
Cars with keys in the vehicles.
Yep. So again, encourage everyone, simply lock the doors. They'll stay away. They'll learn that Lamont keeps their doors locked. So Chief, again, appreciate your assistance on this, and we encourage, I've talked specifically to a couple of neighborhood watch groups regarding this, and I believe your staff will be working with them on this and, you know, spreading the word. Because again, it sounds like they do it more than just on the holiday seasons, right? So again, we'll be working with those groups. Okay, moving on, Ralph, any other?
No, sir.
Okay, good to go. All right. With that being said, any other unfinished or new business? All right. Okay, with that being said, we will have an executive session. I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss under Chapter 5 ILCS of the Open Meetings Act, 5 ILCS 2C2 collective bargaining, also
Section 2C11 pending litigation.
2C11 pending litigation. Okay, need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee McClafferty, seconded by Trustee Blatzer. Roll call, please.
Stapleton?
Yes.
Blatzer?
Yes.
Kwasniewski?
Yes.
Maher?
Yes.
McClafferty?
Yes.
Nagowski?
Yes.
Okay. All right, motion approved. This effectively ends the current public session of our meeting, and we will now go into closed session.
Thanks, Rick. If you want to stick around, and you feel free to